Surprise! If you thought I was gonna start the episode off with me running with my arms behind my back like some rejected Sonic character, then you're sorely mistaken. Oops. Now, I'm sure if you check out some of my older videos, you'd see that I'm pretty big into anime. Not too big to where I consider myself a full-fledged weeaboo or anything, but decent enough to where I do watch it on my free time while also balancing it out with video games. You hear that? I'm not a fucking weeb, okay? Originally, what I was going to do for this video was essentially look at every game from this series, but for other reasons involving this series, I'm just going to leave it at 3 for this episode and focus on the rest for the next episode. And what are we looking at today? Well, we're going to be looking at the Naruto Ultimate Ninja series, and as you can see, I only have the physical version of 2 of them. I lost the other ones a long time ago, unfortunately, so I have to resort to that good old-fashioned emulation until I can find the other ones online somewhere for a reasonable price. So yeah, this is Naruto, a series about ninja who run around with their arms behind their back like Sonic, wear sandals, sport tracksuits, and have blue headbands with metal plating on it. Definitely not the average ninja, which stood out to me more seeing as to how this was a more modern twist when it came to your typical ninja. Sure, they were really fast and had the weapons of everyday ninja, but they were also loud, energetic, colorful, busty as hell. Damn, this definitely caught my eye when stumbling upon it for the first time. And if you want the honest to god truth, the sole reason I got heavily invested in Naruto was thanks to Naruto Ultimate Ninja 2, and soon after I'd start to really get into the series, like watching the anime and reading the manga, collecting various merchandise like t-shirts, action figures, weapon replicas, and of course the video games. In fact, I went as far as to trade in my copy of Tekken 4 for Naruto Ultimate Ninja 1 because I love these games that much. If I wasn't watching the anime or reading whatever manga chapter I was able to come across at the time, the video games are where I spent the majority of my time, and as I mentioned earlier, the Ultimate Ninja games are what I played the most, and for good reason too. I'm gonna get into why shortly, but before that we have to start where the cycle started. So Ultimate Ninja was the birth of Naruto fighting games on PlayStation consoles, and what better PlayStation console to start this tradition off with than the PlayStation 2, my favorite console alongside many others I'm sure. The best way I guess I could explain the Ultimate Ninja games would be to call this a 2D fighter with new mechanics that fit the narrative of the Naruto series, being an anime of ninja who fight like Dragon Ball Z characters and run around like the cool blue dude with the attitude, which in my opinion fits because you have to remember, Naruto is an anime about fighting first and foremost, so the 2D fighter style fits more in my opinion over a 3D fighter, an RPG, and even arena fighters for that matter. I also feel like the 2D fighter style gameplay fits more in my opinion because of the competitive gaming aspect, which is ironic coming from me because I'm like the worst fighting game player in existence, but that's neither here nor there. So, this is the first game in the series, Naruto Ultimate Ninja 1. It's also the second game series to kick off the Naruto home console lifespan, releasing on the PlayStation 2 in 2003 and was created and published by CyberConnect 2 in Bondi. I'm pretty familiar with their work. They produced those Tamagotchi toys back in the day as well as a fair amount of other games like the Dragon Ball Z Budokai series and Star Fox Assault for the GameCube to name a few. I'm not gonna get into the story of Naruto. I'm assuming everyone here already knows what Naruto is and what it's about. It'd be a waste of time. In fact, Naruto Ultimate Ninja 1 doesn't even have a story. Instead, character sagas that follow the anime story up to the Leaf Destruction arc, for some characters at least. Others are more based around filler for the most part, and I can understand why, seeing that some characters that are playable weren't present within some of the arcs that took place in the actual story. Think of the arcade mode in Street Fighter and how you can essentially play as each character individually with their own story. That's the best way I can explain it. For the first game in the series, it didn't have a cinematic story whatsoever, instead opting out for a more simple direction, introducing characters and their personalities. And yeah, they are introduced in the anime first, but not everyone has seen the anime or read the manga for that matter. So personally, I believe this was intentional to give fans a better understanding of the characters over the story. So getting into the menu real quick, it's pretty simple and has a fair amount of dynamic to go around. For starters, each option symbolizes a scroll and has a character to the right side explaining what option does what, and it's fully voiced by the actual voice actors from the anime. In fact, every voice actor from the anime is present in this game for their respective characters at least. Speaking of characters, there are 6 you start out with, and once you unlock all of the characters, the roster grows from 6 to 14, and for the first game in the series, the number of characters actually isn't that bad. You'd think the roster would be a lot shorter, maybe along the lines of 8 to 12 characters total, but instead they give us 14, and they actually play really well. Their gameplay is fluent and smooth, and their models look really nice, but in order to unlock everyone first, we're gonna have to play through those arcs. So, that's what I did, and right off the bat, one of the first things I did before getting into the actual fight was go into the options and change my controls. See, normally in fighting games, especially for the PS2, they'd have you press the square button to attack, but these games don't do that. Instead, they do the exact opposite. In the Ultimate Ninja games, you normally have to press the circle button to attack, which in my opinion is a weird button layout to have initially. Look at Dragon Ball Z, Tekken, and Street Fighter. All of those games utilize the square button as a standard attack input, but then Naruto comes around and changes the cycle. And I guess it was probably done to give off a more unique twist when it comes to fighting games and how they control, but this just feels weird. So on to the actual attacks now. It's only linked to one button, and in my case it's the square button. By repeatedly pressing the attack button, you can pull off a preset combo, but that's not all you can do, is you can also use the D-pad to do directional combos, as well as start off the preset combo by pressing the square button, then following up with the D-pad in whatever direction you want the attack to go. They're sort of like combo strings where I'm adding on to the already predetermined combo, only difference here is they're not infinite. I think my personal favorite would have to be Hinata's moveset. It's really reminiscent to her fighting style in the anime, you know, the 8 trigrams and Hyuga style. I think everything was really well put together with her and Neji when it came to reenacting fighting styles and just how they act in the anime. You know, Hinata's still really shy, Neji's still overly confident, Naruto's still f***ing stupidly obnoxious, and Sasuke's still a dick. If you double tap down on the D-pad and press the attack button, you can pull off one of the 2 jutsu each character has. They're essentially this game's version of special moves, where they deal more damage than regular attacks, far more easier than other games like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, where they require you to do other commands with the analog stick and different button inputs. The other jutsu is done by doing one of those combo string like attacks I mentioned earlier. It varies on character which direction you need to link with the attack to pull off the other jutsu. In my opinion, just focus on double tapping down on the D-pad. It's quicker and easier and essentially deals the same amount, if not more, than the other jutsu. The amount of times you can use your jutsu and secret techniques rely on your chakra gauge, the gauge underneath the health bar. You can refill this gauge in one of 2 ways, by charging your chakra, which is done by holding down on the D-pad, or literally smack the chakra out of your opponent by hitting them hard enough against the wall or the ground. I'm pretty impatient when it comes to waiting for this to be refilled, so I'm sure you can guess which method I went with. The secret techniques are essentially ultimate jutsu that can be triggered in one of 3 levels, being red, the first level, which is the weakest one, obviously, purple, the second, which is the neutral out of the 3, and light blue, the third and most powerful level. These can deal a lot of damage depending on how fast you go about inputting the buttons at the precise moment before the time runs out, and pretty much all of the secret techniques require you to do this. They're not necessarily difficult, I'd say they require a decent amount of quick timing and reaction timing when inputting the buttons at the precise time. I personally think this is a great mechanic to have in the game. It feels fitting to the series. They even go a step further to make them fully cinematic with decent animation quality, and I can appreciate this. I like the effort put in here. It makes me wonder what the actual series would be like if it were animated with this art style. I could see it working, but then again, not so much. Maybe if it were to have the Naruto Storm art style, then hell yeah, just work on the mouth moving animation a bit and we're good. If you press the square button, or in my case triangle, you can use items, another form of attack in this game, but if I'm being honest, you're probably never going to use these on a consistent basis because they don't deal much damage. They're only really helpful whenever you want some distance between you and your opponent, though there are some items that can boost your attack and speed, give you more health and chakra, or just flat out slow down your opponent entirely and drop their attack and defense. But as I just stated, you're probably hardly going to use these. And it's a shame too, because I wish there could have been more done with the items to switch the gameplay up, like melee weapons that come with a certain amount of uses like katanas and scythes, or character specific special items like Sasuke throwing flaming kunai, or Naruto shooting an explosive shadow clone that explodes on impact. Just something like this to make the items seem more interesting in my opinion. But as it stands, I'm not using these shits. Call back when Sasuke is 12 feet away from me. You can use substitutions as well to get the jump on your opponent by teleporting behind them as they try to attack you. This mechanic seemed more useful to me because it gave me the opportunity to get the jump on my opponent and surprise them from behind. Not to mention you can also use substitutions in these sort of quick time event sequences. They occur whenever you land a critical hit on your opponent or throw them far enough and follow up with the analog stick in the direction you threw them in. It's a good mechanic, but I could never get the hang of this in this game. Do I repeatedly press the square button? Do I press circle? What the hell do I do? I will say, however, that it does get easier in future releases like Naruto Ultimate Ninja 3 by showing us what to press and when to press it, so I will give it credit there. Going back to the story arcs for a little bit, there's something I forgot to touch upon, and that's the dialogue. I stated earlier that every character has their respective voice from the anime, and the dialogue makes that abundantly clear. And I'm not even joking, every single dialogue cutscene is fully voiced by the dub team, and it's a nice way to ensure the game is more immersive when comparing it to other fighting games. Take the main cast for example. You have Naruto spouting "believe it" like a f***ing Animal Crossing character, saying their catchphrase after every sentence every time you talk to them.
Believe it! 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 Believe it!
Oh my god! or Sasuke being an arrogant prick.
Don't be jumping around so much, idiot.
Fuck you, Sasuke.
Ah! You! Shut the hell up!
Yeah, you tell him, Naruto. Or Kakashi getting overly pissed off.
You don't know what it means to be a ninja. You think it's a game, huh?
Whoa, Kakashi, calm down, buddy. Or Sakura doing whatever the hell Sakura's doing.
What a pretty kid.
Yeah, whatever. If you want my honest opinion, the dialogue cutscenes could use some work. Many times I found certain instances where the character's voice didn't fit in with what was being said or just flat out responded in ways that made no sense. And looking at it closer, I don't even know if I can call these cutscenes because they're not really animated. Instead, I could call them dialogue sequences or sections because of how simplistic they are, I guess, but I digress. The last thing I want to really go over with this game is the mission mode. I'm not going to talk about practice or versus battle because those are literally self-explanatory, so I don't need to touch upon those at all. The missions, however, are a different story, sort of. They're pretty much just regular battles but with certain conditions you have to meet, like for example, winning the battle but only within 30 seconds, or defeating an opponent without taking any damage, and I mean good luck with that shit. They start all the way down from practice up to S rank, and in order to advance from practice up to S rank, you're gonna have to complete every mission in order and climb from practice rank all the way to Jonin rank. Easy enough, right? No, they get more and more difficult as you go about completing them and climb through the ranks, and it's like, yeah, no shit, why are you telling us this? Well, the difference with this game when compared to other games with a similar mode is that there are actually unlockables, and these unlockables are 2 characters. I'm not even kidding. Yeah, Curse Mark Sasuke and Nine-Tailed Naruto. That's about all you get when clearing most of the missions in this game, and in my opinion, these are pretty decent exclusive unlockables. You unlock Curse Mark Sasuke by becoming Chunin rank, and you unlock Nine-Tailed Naruto by completing all of the B rank missions, and yeah, I ain't doing that shit. In hindsight, the mission mode could be seen as a form of replayability, at least that's how I see it, which there's nothing wrong with. I'm all for games like this giving us more to do to ensure that we play for a while. It's nice to have variety in fighting games like this, but I feel like there could have been more to the mission mode to make it feel more immersive. For example, different costumes or exclusive items only unlocked by completing certain requirements. There's more I could go over with this game, like the mechanics where you can travel to and from the foreground and background of whatever stage you're on, or stage shifting where you can travel to another stage mid-fight. But I feel like these mechanics are just so straight to the point to where I don't even have to go over them. You can even run on walls and dash at your opponent by repeatedly pressing the X button, but these are straight to the point also. Like, you can do a Naruto version of the homing attack. There's not much else I can say about that. I do want to say, however, that you can purchase items from the in-game shop with your currency Rio, which is obtained from winning fights and completing missions, and once you purchase the items, you can view them in Naruto's house, which is essentially the in-game shop. But I'm gonna be honest, I didn't get shit from this house because the shop kinda screwed me over. Come on, baby, Niko needs a new figurine. Oh, I got it this time. This time for sure, I know I can. This time for sure, I know I can get this one. I know I can. I spent all my fucking money. The next game up is Naruto Ultimate Ninja 2, and like most other sequels, this improves on generally everything the first game set in stone. One of the most major improvements is the story mode. Instead of individual character arcs, this game actually follows some story from the anime in a more traditional story mode setting. It's called Ultimate Road, and it takes place within the Leaf Destruction arc and the Search for Tsunade arc, but that's not all this story has to offer, as there's a little filler arc in here as well, known as the Ghetto Mark arc, and the plot here is, taking place immediately after the Search for Tsunade arc, Orochimaru is still upset and in agonizing pain due to his arm still being sealed, plans to use the Ghetto Mark jutsu with the help of his henchman Kabuto to cause disorder in the Leaf Village. As they arrive within close proximity of the Leaf Village, they're soon interrupted by Kakashi and Might Guy and a fight breaks out. After the fight, however, the Ghetto Mark sealing jutsu is cast on Kakashi and he can no longer use his Sharingan. Some time passes and soon after, the Ghetto Mark confusion jutsu is cast on Naruto, and now he's under Kabuto's control, brainwashing basically. And soon after that, the Ghetto Mark confusion jutsu is also cast on Orochimaru, that way he can perform the reanimation jutsu and bring back Zabuza, Haku, and the third Hokage to wreak havoc all over the Leaf Village. What is happening here? This filler arc has about 3 plot holes in it: Kakashi losing the use of his Sharingan, Naruto being brainwashed, and the resurrection of 3 dead characters. Do you see where the confusion is coming from now? It's not bad that there are multiple things happening in this little filler arc, but it's just that some of it doesn't make sense to me. Like, the Ghetto Mark confusion and sealing jutsu would have been fine on their own for this arc, you know, use the sealing jutsu on certain characters to add limitations to the gameplay like what they did with Kakashi, and use the confusion jutsu to brainwash some characters and give them more importance in the story. I don't see why they had to add the reanimation part in here, especially for the third Hokage, you know, a character you literally killed like 2 arcs ago, but I digress. Besides all of that, there's plenty more to do in the story mode besides fighting and progressing, like free roaming to a certain extent. By doing this, you can chat with various characters and NPCs with
don't tell my wife that I've been goofing off, okay?
questionable dialogue, accept challenges and objectives from certain characters, travel to various locations like the Hidden Sand Village in Tantaku Town, my favorite town in Naruto. Fun fact by the way, most areas you can travel to in the story mode are actual stages you can fight in. You can also play various minigames by talking to certain characters like My Guy where you can race against him in a handstand race, or Rock Lee where you compete against him in a push-up contest. Hell, you can even play slot machines in Tantaku Town if you wanted. These minigames were fun as hell back in the day, and they still are fun today, especially the tree climbing one you can do after talking to Sakura. They're a nice distraction from all of the fighting and story progression you're going to be doing, not to mention you can essentially play these whenever you please, even after you beat the story mode, which is a nice way to ensure replayability and offers a new experience. But those are all of the major mechanics. Everything else is pretty minor in comparison, like for example the secret techniques. I'm not going to explain what these are again. The most noticeable difference here besides some visual upgrades, added music, and the fact that more characters have their own secret techniques are the button input styles. There are two new ways to go about pulling off your secret technique successfully, by repeatedly pressing a specific button and rapidly rotating the analog stick, both of which I find to be better than doing some f***ing quick time events when I'm supposed to be beating the shit out of my opponents, but whatever, it's fine. It's not like I wanted to watch Sasuke get his ass kicked, no! They're also a lot easier to pull off as opposed to the previous style, which again required a lot more quick reflexes and reaction timing. Not to mention it's kind of fun to just rapidly press the X button and rotate the analog stick over and over again to deal critical damage. The other minor mechanics mainly have to do with the core gameplay, for instance pulling off your jutsu attacks. Instead of mixing in a directional combo with the already preset combo the game gives you, you can now double tap up on the D-pad and press square to pull off the other jutsu, which I must add is so much more convenient than trying to pull off some directional combo with multiple characters in various directions that aren't even the same. What I'm trying to say here is I like this a lot. Everything else is, like I said earlier, minor. There aren't too many new additions besides characters, support characters, and stuff you can buy from the in-game shop, which is called Tantaku Market by the way, great attention to detail right there. The characters are one of the major inclusions. This is a fighting game after all, so it makes sense that the total roster of characters will grow alongside the games, boasting a decent whopping 32 characters, twice as many as the first game, and even gives us filler characters that weren't in the anime whatsoever. These characters are Taijutsu Naruto and Byakugan Hinata. Similarly to how you unlock Curse Mark Sasuke and Nine-Tailed Naruto in the first game, it's no different here except the requirements are different. Take Taijutsu Naruto for example. You unlock him by completing all of Might Guy's objectives in the story mode with Naruto, then once you complete all of his objectives, you have to go to Tantaku Town and purchase the Might Suit for a cool clean 100,000 Ryo. Now you may be asking, Niko, did you really scrounge up 100,000 Ryo with only a few hours of playtime? No. I have instead found an easier alternative way to unlock the rest of the characters.
Oh, sweet! Mega bonus!
I'm a pro gamer now! Both of these characters are pretty cool. I especially like Byakugan Hinata with her moveset being slightly different and her design change, which I must add looks fantastic by the way. She definitely became my most favorite character in the entire game. I mean, you could also mix in that Hinata's one of my favorite female characters as well, but who the hell cares about that? When you get down to it, this is just another Naruto Ultimate Ninja game with only a few new additions and improvements. Nothing really screams new and improved Naruto fighting game experience with all new mechanics, original characters, original story. Nothing like that is here, and for good reason. You have to remember that this is a sequel to an already established fighting game that this one just built off of. Well, I mean, most sequels are like that anyway. I'd never really jump into this game head first expecting the core gameplay style to change or for it to have these new major mechanics never before seen in a fighting game. That'd be like removing the spin dash from Sonic 2 and adding the boost formula with Unleashed gameplay. It just wouldn't work. I guess what I'm trying to say here is this is a sequel done right. It improves on generally everything the first game printed out and more. It also helps that there's more to do in this game as opposed to the first one. Yeah, it had a mission mode that you could rank up in and an in-game shop that I got jack shit from, but that's really all it had going for it, which is disappointing, yes, but this was the first game in the series, so that can be excused. This game, however, gives us mini-games, an actual story, more characters and unlockables, etc, etc. If you want my personal take on this, I prefer this over the first game any day of the week, but that's just me. The last game up is Naruto Ultimate Ninja 3, and like the last game, this one improves significantly on generally everything from the previous two games. Saying that this game only introduced a few minor mechanics like the second game did would be a big understatement. In fact, I go as far as to say that this is the best in the series addition wise, just with how much shit they've added. Not to mention there are more characters, more stuff to collect for Naruto's house, there's a lot, but there are stories that need to be summarized first. So there are like 2 story modes in this game, the Ultimate Contest mode and Hero's History mode. Hero's History is essentially a retelling of all of the major plot points and story of the Naruto anime, from the Genin training arc all the way to the Sasuke retrieval arc. Unlike Ultimate Ninja 2's story mode, this doesn't have a semi-open world for you to progress and navigate through, instead opting out for a more simpler linear menu where you can navigate throughout the various arcs and fights. Check the detailed story outline for whatever fight you're about to embark on, which I must add is pretty informative by the way, and also listen to the Hero's History theme music. Gets me every time. When you're in gameplay segments, the similarities between this game and Ultimate Ninja 2 become more apparent, like with its dialogue and cutscene presentation, though I will say that this game takes it a step further and adds more animation within the cutscenes to make them more cinematic, like this scene where Rock Lee appears before Kimimaro. He threw a kick! Holy shit guys, he threw a kick! There are even CGI cutscenes spread throughout each arc and they're really well animated. You can see the expressiveness of the characters a lot better, the visuals look really nice, I should also point that out, and it does a good job of recreating certain scenes in the anime. My only complaint is that there aren't more of these CGI cutscenes in the game. I think it would have been great if there were more of these for the more serious moments, like when Sasuke gets his curse mark from Orochimaru, or when Naruto uses the Rasengan for the first time, but I digress. Besides all that, everything is generally the same for the most part. The most major addition that stands out in terms of gameplay for this mode is that there are now boss battles, and they're alright, you know. Not too major, or difficult for that matter. They really require you to just hit their head multiple times until you kill them. Not anything like most other games, where you have to learn their attack patterns and wait for an opening, same thing, rinse and repeat until you beat them. They're essentially just regular fights but bigger enemies. That's the best way I can explain it. The second story mode, Ultimate Contest, starts out with Tsunade trying to figure out what event to do alongside the Hidden Sand Village when suddenly she gets a brilliant idea. Soon after, we meet up with Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura in the training field and find out from Kakashi that the event taking place requires these blue and red crystals, blue being worth 1 point and red being worth 4 points. Later on, everyone is assembled in front of the Leaf Village and Tsunade unveils the event, which is to host an all-out battle royale where the victor can come up with any regulation they want for the Leaf Village. What about the Hidden Sand Village? Naruto decides he wants to be the next Hokage if he wins, and thus the tournament begins. Pretty simple for a full-fledged original story in a Naruto fighting game. Yeah, it's not focused on major Naruto fights or anything like that, because it's not supposed to. It's supposed to focus on having fun and the feeling of a competition, hence why it's revolved around this. Like yeah, there are fights in this story mode obviously, it's still a fighting game before anything, but the main point about this story mode is the contest. And speaking of story mode, like Ultimate Ninja 2's Ultimate Road story mode, this game introduces a new gameplay style, being a free open world sandbox where you can explore without many restrictions. Here you can run around the Leaf Village and various other locations like in Ultimate Ninja 2. You can accept missions, hop from building to building, run up walls, buy items from shops, collect scrolls, which is another form of currency in this mode that you can use to buy certain items, collect crystals, the list goes on and on. There's a lot to do in this mode, but before you get into all of the nitty gritty, you gotta stock up on those crystals. Now there are 60 to collect in order to advance through the preliminaries, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not. You can find these crystals faster than you can come up with 50 rings in Sonic games. I'm kidding of course, but finding these crystals is essentially really easy. You'd find them by just playing the game. Now that can mean stumbling upon them on the ground, breaking crates and other breakable items, completing challenges like buying Choji a bag of chips or giving Hinata medicine for example, talking to people and fighting multiple characters spread throughout various locations. Now I should also mention that not all of these methods are required, these are just some of the ones that I went with. But the easiest way I found where crystals were was thanks to Iruka. He sits in front of the Ichiraku ramen shop waiting to be talked to, and by doing so, he'll give you these little hints as to where crystals are located. They're pretty easy to follow, but what the fuck is this one? It does a good job of telling you where to find crystals without actually telling you where to find them. The riddles are nice, but I would have preferred poems. They're a lot more artistic and creative, not to mention I kinda like poems. Hinata, oh Hinata, wherefore art thou Hinata? Sasuke is a bitch. I want him to fall in a ditch. Other than that, there is more to do in this mode, like leveling up characters after fights and unlocking new jutsu and secret techniques for them to use in versus battle or practice mode. You can also unlock more characters here that you wouldn't be able to get in Hero's History mode, and there are quite a few to be unlocked here, like the 1st, 2nd, and 4th Hokage. I'm not calling him the Yellow Flash, alright, get off my ass. You also have Hanabi Hyuga, Asuma, Kurenai, Anko, Konohamaru, and Taijutsu Naruto, as well as Anbu Kakashi make a comeback from Ultimate Ninja 2. Sadly no Byakugan Hinata, which is a shame. I would have loved to see how she'd play in this game with the new movesets and everything, but it is what it is. Unlocking some of these characters require that you do a little playing after you beat the initial story mode of Ultimate Contest. Some of them aren't difficult to unlock either, like Kurenai or Anko, where I had to fight Anko once to unlock her, and beat the tree climbing minigame in under 1 minute and 10 seconds to unlock Kurenai, but the others are a bit more difficult. Alright, those crystals and that character are mine! Shit, fuck, ow, 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 I did it. The other characters like Asuma, the 1st, 2nd, and 4th Hokage, and Hanabi had me doing extra to unlock them. Like for example, Asuma had me find 5 shogi pieces he lost spread throughout the village center, or the 1st and 2nd Hokage where you had to do some certain mission or something like that, I don't know. I'm gonna be honest, I used the cheat code to unlock the 1st and 2nd Hokage as well as Konohamaru. I didn't feel like doing whatever missions the game wanted me to complete, so I just said whatever, I'm gonna cheat my way to accomplishment. Unlocking Hanabi and the 4th Hokage were the most difficult, I'd have to say. In order to unlock the 4th Hokage, you need to unlock everyone else, and unlocking Hanabi as the last character was a bit of a challenge. See, the way you go about unlocking her is you have to first find Hanabi and give her perfume from your inventory. Then look for her again and take her to a place called the Shishuya so she can buy whatever it is her father wanted. After that, look for her again and Naruto will invite her out to eat dumplings with him, essentially going on a date. And I don't know how I feel about that. She's looking a little on the young side there, buddy. Maybe wait about 10-12 years when she's a little older, you know, more experienced, but whatever. After all of that, I unlocked Hanabi and as promised the 4th Hokage. Now you must be saying, how was that difficult? That seems pretty easy, if anything, right? You think so, huh? No. There were a lot of things I had to do in between meeting Hanabi those 3 times, like going out to eat dumplings with Sakura, Hinata, Ino, Tamari, and Tenshin while they talk about their feelings, or go on a walk with Neji, which I must say was pretty wholesome. I love the moments like this. Or give Jiraiya stomach medicine, which I don't know why. I mean, couldn't he ask like Tsunade or Sakura to heal him? I don't fucking know. Bottom line is, this wasn't easy. There were still more things I had to do even after all of this, but I've established that plenty enough by now. Unlocking Hanabi and the 4th Hokage felt a lot more rewarding than other characters like the 1st and 2nd Hokage, where I had to do a cheat code to unlock them because I didn't feel like doing whatever mission they required out of me. With these 2 I felt so much more accomplished because they're the last 2 characters. I couldn't put a cheat code in to unlock them. I had to go back in the Ultimate Contest and bust my ass, and damn it, that's what I did. But I've elaborated on that long enough. Now it's time to get into the mechanics, and the best place to start would be with the core gameplay. There are quite a few new mechanics in this game that become major staples throughout the Naruto Fighting game series, like with the secret techniques. Instead of having 3 like in the other 2 Ultimate Ninja games, you now have one which you can customize, and when I say customize, I really mean you can change which secret technique you use throughout the battle. They do still range from red, purple, and blue depending on which one you pick, and still do the same amount of damage, but for some characters there's an entirely new mechanic with these, being the Awakening mode. Although, I consider this to be more so a new addition instead of a new mechanic, but that's neither here nor there. How this works is, certain characters like Naruto and Sasuke have a secret technique far different from other characters, which allow them to access their awakening state. This gives them new appearances, jutsu, and an entirely new moveset fitting to the form they've taken. For example, Rock Lee gets super f***ing wasted like he drunk himself dry at a house party, so his moveset would be reminiscent to drunken martial arts. yeah, cheers. Oh, what was in that? Piss? Oh my god, my ass burns. The awakenings are fun, and it helps that they give certain characters entirely new movesets to make the game feel more immersive and basically make them feel like their own character just without a secret technique, which I mean isn't really too much of a hindrance considering you'll be winning most fights pretty quickly depending on how good you are. Not to mention, once you activate this, you're not getting out of it until the end of the fight, so I just take advantage of the opportunity. It's not every day I get to beat the shit out of Sasuke with drunken martial arts master Loopy Lee. You can even select it automatically in the character selection menu once you unlock everyone. It also has really good music once you activate him as well. Alright, the next mechanic has to do with your jutsu, and by that I mean your down square. Basically what I'm talking about here are your chargeable jutsus. These aren't new, they were actually carried over from Ultimate Ninja 2 thanks to Anbu Kakashi and the 3rd Hokage, but there are more characters in this game with these, like Naruto and Sasuke with the Rasengan and Chidori. It works kinda like the secret techniques when you activate the 3rd and final one. It's the most critical, hence why it deals the most damage, so the same thing applies to the chargeable jutsu when you charge it up fully. It's only natural that it would deal more damage here than it would if it would be charged up halfway. This also ties in with the next mechanic being jutsu clashes. These are pretty much struggle battles like you'd see in other games like the Dragon Ball Z Budokai series. The main difference here is it works with various other jutsu from multiple characters, like Kiba's Fang over Fang versus Neji's rotation, or My Guy's dynamic entry versus Jiraiya's Rasengan. Some of these can get pretty bizarre and make no damn sense whatsoever, but that's what makes it interesting to me. I like the fact that we can experiment with some of these characters and pull off jutsu clashes that wouldn't even be possible in Naruto and just look plain stupid. Like, you can clash Sakura up against the 3rd Hokage's Earth-style mud wall. That's how creative you can get with these, and it doesn't make sense. Like, it looks ridiculous. My personal favorite out of the bunch would have to be Super Choji's Butterfly Bomb versus Curse Mark Sasuke's Black Chidori, and I guess you could say it's because they both have wings, which I must say do look nice, but I really like it because of how different it is. I mean, you never expect these two characters who have only had like 2 interactions in the entire series to be doing something like this. There's only so much Rasengan versus Chidori I can take before it eventually gets staler than Green Hill Zone and Sonic games. And I'm being serious, there's a lot of Rasengan versus Chidori, and a lot of Green Hill Zone and Sonic games. All in all, I think the jutsu clashing is a pretty good mechanic. Was it added to compete with the Dragon Ball Z Budokai and Budokai Tenkaichi games? Maybe, I don't know. I do think that this is a good addition that changes up the gameplay even if by a little bit, which is good, it makes things less tedious that way. In my opinion, this is the best Ultimate Ninja game in the series. I like the new mechanics, the open world gameplay isn't bad, it has some subtle RPG elements in here with the leveling system which I do like, and the customization is a neat addition also. There were some more additions that returned from Ultimate Ninja 2, but they're not really that major to garner my attention, mainly minigames and collectibles for Naruto's house. Nothing else really screams big and brand new, but it does hope that you can do way more in this game as opposed to the previous two, and even went a step further to make it feel more immersive. That way it's a lot more fresh and innovative, giving it more room for creativity. So I guess when you boil it down, the Ultimate Ninja games are probably, in my opinion, some of the most competitive, complex, fleshed out Naruto fighting games out there. With its amount of replayability and other things to do besides just fighting, this series is definitely a step above the rest in terms of introducing new mechanics and gameplay styles to the already saturated 2D fighting game genre as it is. Not to mention it's based off of an anime that it can just copy and paste its story into to make things easier to understand for those not really interested in the anime or manga, but they don't just do that. Instead, they add minigames, original stories, decent unlockables, new characters, and a new way to experience the 2D fighting game genre as a whole. And with that out of the way, I'd like to thank everyone so much for watching. I hope you all have a great day, and until next time.